How's everybody doing today? It's been a while. I've been doing a lot of things, getting a lot of context and text and things that I can share with you all so I can add some value to you all's life. We'll talk about that more towards the end. But today we're going to be talking about the transformation of wealth. So, what's going on in our society today? We're experiencing and going to be experiencing the biggest transformation of wealth that we've seen probably in 50 plus years, maybe even more. What do I mean by that? So transformational wealth. So you got a lot of baby boomers that are actually getting older. They're selling their houses, or what the theme is now is they're actually giving their assets, leaving their assets to their actual children. And the big thing now is today is they're doing that before they die because they want to see their children be able to do something with what they have, instead of just passing it along in their will and not knowing what their children did with whatever things that they built for them. So that's one of the biggest reasons of the transformation of wealth. Another transformation of wealth is, again, the baby boomers are selling their houses. They're taking their money, they're retiring, they're investing in different things. Also, with that, we know we have a lot of political unrest. So with that political unrest, it's causing a lot of volatility in different markets, real estate markets, so on and so forth. So whenever that happens, it creates desperation. So people they get desperate, right? They have less money, inflation, things cost more. So what they do is they start either unloading their assets, like their houses. They sell their houses in particular, and what we're going to be talking about in that transformation, how we can take advantage of it in real estate. So in real estate, if you have a home that you can't really afford with the taxes, interest rates, rising costs of electricity bills, water, so on and so forth. So when you can't afford that, instead of losing it, people sell it. And what they do is because they can't afford it, they get behind maybe sometimes. What that does is create an opportunity for you to be able to go in on those properties at a discount. Another part of the greatest transformation of wealth that we need to be conscious of is that uh, right now about 5% of the well, let me say this: the wealth is controlled by about 4 to 5% of population. Let's say we can go up to 10%. So 10% of the population controls all of the wealth, and everybody else is just kind of getting by and trying to make it. And so in that statistic, the African American community is at the bottom, and we talked about this other times. But I think if the wealth per household for white Americans is on average 240 something thousand. For Hispanics, it's 66 something thousand, and for African Americans, it's 44,000. So that's a huge gap. That's a huge gap. So what's happening is that gap is getting larger, right? Because all those things we just talked about. And as that gap gets larger, we're going to have more. And you see it today. You see people doing smash and grabs. You see all of these things that people are doing because people aren't going to go without, right? Uh, so also, like I said, what happens with that is that, you know, people want to sell things, houses, you know, stocks, so on and so forth. Or when you have the prices of those assets, stocks, homes, and real estate, even commercial buildings, so on and so forth, it fluctuates. It goes up and down. So right now, what we're doing is going down. Even though the prices are still relatively high, it's starting to shrink. There was an article that was put out by Bloomberg. In the month of May, we had our worst home sales in probably, they said, several years. So we had the worst month of home sales in May than we've seen in the last several years. So, like I said, all those indications are on the wall. And what we've done with our program, we talked about before, launching our program, we're showing people how they can take advantage of that transformation of wealth, and in particular in real estate. So again, I talked about people selling their homes; they can't afford their homes. So what does that do? That creates opportunity for you when you're going into different neighborhoods, either your neighborhood or another neighborhood that maybe a less fortunate neighborhood. A neighborhood that's less fortunate than others, that those homes are at a value, right? So we're going to be able to pick up things at a value, and that's going to happen more and more and more as we go along for the next couple of years. And also, what we need to realize is that, and we talked about this also before, the government, right? A lot of times we rely on the government to come bail us out our jobs, so on and so forth. What's happening with this transformation of wealth is the wages aren't increasing with the cost of inflation, with the cost of living. So again, that's another reason why that wealth is transforming or we're having that transformation because things cost more, but we're making less. So what does that do? It makes poor people poorer, right? And rich people richer because they can afford to buy those things. They can afford to buy those assets, those homes, so on and so forth. They can afford to invest more money. So that gap is widening between the middle class and the wealthy because of these reasons, right? Another reason is that today we have a lot of war going on, or wars that may be started in the near future. Also, that creates a transformation of wealth. Wealth war is one of the biggest wealth builders in the world, and not we don't necessarily take advantage of it. We go and fight, and we have to suffer the consequences of that war. But there's many wealthy people that build weapons, so on and so forth, that make a whole lot of money during war. So all these things again are the reason why there's a transformation of wealth happening right now. So we can either become a victim to it or we can take advantage of it. Right. And how are we going to take advantage of it? I'm going to show you how to take advantage of it in the real estate market. And so the program that I've been talking about for several months is had launched, right? We did a webinar. We did our first webinar last week. We're going to do another webinar on Sunday, June 8th at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. And how do you find that? You can go to www.myfirsthouseflip.com. If you go there, you can register for the webinar, you know, come take a look what we're talking about, take advantage of some of the information that we're going to be giving you. Again, this is all going to be predicated on taking advantage of the transformation of wealth. And how we laid it out is we make it very simple because real estate can be complicated, right? There's so many different ways to make money in real estate. So it can be complicated. A lot of people get scared of it, or they shy away because they feel like they can't learn it or it's too much to learn. They're overwhelmed. They're already working a 9 to 5. They have children, wives, so on and so forth. So most people don't take advantage of that. So I've come up with this program so I can help people streamline that don't have a lot of time. And the one biggest key component to that is you don't have to have a lot of money. Why? Because I'm building a community. So in that community, what's going to happen is we're going to be investing together in projects. So you may say, I don't have a lot of money to get started in real estate, and you won't need to, right? You can get in as low as $2,500 in one of our investment deals. Of course, you have to be a part of the program to take advantage of that. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this webinar on June 8th. Again, June 8th, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, www.myfirsthouseflip.com. Again, come take a look, and if you're not ready now, at least you can still come and attend. It's not going to cost you anything to register, and then you can get the information. And then maybe if you're not ready right at this moment, you have the information. So when you are ready, you can go in and jump on. Right. And again, what we're doing here, it's based on a mission. I'm trying to, like I said, everything I do is basically trying to help build a financial foundation for our community. All right, if you listen to any of our other episodes and this podcast, this is what we do, right? This program is going to be the same thing, right? It's relatively inexpensive to join the program. And again, what we're doing is we're trying to help our community learn about how to invest in real estate, not only learn about it, but actually invest in real estate. Again, why we know that's one of the biggest wealth builders in the world is real estate. And we can do that on a large scale as a group. And I'm thinking, the sky's the limit by multifamily being the biggest, group of investors in our community, African American community, if not the nation. Right. So we're talking about a big deal here. We're talking about a big deal. And again, you can take advantage of that now. Most people, when they see a program or they have opportunity, they always wait. You wait, you wait. And when you wait too long, the opportunity passes you up. Right. So the transformation of wealth, like I said, all those signs are already being indicated that we're going through that's happening now. And that's just going to expedite itself as we go through these tariffs with the government and, all these things that are going on, deporting people, so on, getting rid of DEI. All those things are going to expedite the transformation of wealth. So those right now it's kind of trickling slowly, but in my opinion, over the next year, that's going to start moving a lot faster. And you're going to see a lot of people in desperation. You're going to see a lot of people, struggling just to make means eat, to have a nice place to stay. And again, you don't have to be victim to that. Our community does not have to be victim to that. Uh, historically we've always been the victims, right? We're unfortunately, like the statistics that I gave you all talking about wealth, right, per household, we're at the bottom, right? So if we're at the bottom and these things start changing, as wealth starts transforming and it's going to the more the wealthy side than the poor side, and if we're not in some type of wealth building, uh, whether it's stocks or, like I said, real estate in particular, we're talking about, if you're not into one of those industries, one of the wealth builders in our nation, that's been one of the biggest, wealth builders in our nation for forever. That's why, again, a lot of folks outside of us they have wealth, not because they're better than us, not because they're more intelligent than us, but because they had land, they had the opportunity to buy land, they had the opportunity to buy houses back in the 40s and 50s, where if we were able to do that, it was very hard for us, right? So because of that, they were able to build that wealth, right? So they might have bought a house, back in 1950 for $20,000, 30,000. Today it's worth, depending on the neighborhood, it could be worth up $1 million. Right. I've been in neighborhoods that, have $1 million homes, and you see these little shacks right next to them. They people pay basically nothing for that. Right. And now they can sell it just on land value only for $500,000. And so when we're talking about the transformation of wealth, it's not necessarily, like I said, that we were not capable of building wealth. It's just we didn't have the opportunity as others had to build wealth, but now we have the opportunity, right? So now we can't use those as excuses anymore, right? We have the opportunity to start now with our children, to buy some real estate, to invest in some real estate, make some money in that real estate, make that money work for you, so on and so forth. And again, in our program, we're going to be showing you all of that. So definitely, like I said, I want you guys to tune in. I want to make sure that I keep saying this over and over. And if you tune in, again, it's free. You don't have to pay anything, but you get the information now. And you may not realize it now that you need it, but you may realize it later. But based on that information, that knowledge, what we say, knowledge is the key, right? When you have that knowledge, then you know some actions you can take. All right. So again, that's what we're talking about in the next several podcasts, is how we take advantage of that transformation of wealth. Right. So if you are, and some of in our community, not saying that just because we're at the bottom as far as, the income per household, doesn't mean that we don't have wealthy people in our community. We have lots of wealthy people in our community. It's just not, the balance is not there versus other communities. So if you do have wealth and you need to learn how to build that wealth or increase that wealth even more, this program is also very good for you, right? Because you again, you can take that wealth that you have and make it work for you, right? Make it work for you. So again, you don't lose that wealth, because when you talk about inflation, that means your dollar is worth less, right? Every day, the dollar is worth less and less. So what that means is basically, if you have $100 and today it only has the buying power of $100, tomorrow it'll have the buying power of $99, $98. I'm just giving you a simple example of how inflation works. So the $100 that you had maybe 10 years ago is not the same $100 that you had today. $100 10 years ago went a lot further than $100 today, right? So this is how we lose our wealth, through inflation, right? Because we put it in the bank, we put it in savings, because that's what we're taught to do. Instead of investing in an asset that will keep appreciating, right? So your money's working for you. So again, those things, when we talked about a lot about this, we're going to get in more detail as we go. And definitely, if you join the program, you're going to get a lot more information than I can give you on this podcast. So again, June 8th, 6 p.m., and that's a Sunday. And we're only going to be there for 45 minutes, an hour at the most. So it's not going to take you a whole lot of time, an hour out of your day on a Sunday to get, a knowledge that can help your future, help your community, help your children. I think that should be worth your time. All right. So again, June 8th, 6 p.m. Central Standard, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, www.myfirsthouseflip.com. We hope to see you there. Again, you have to register ahead of time. Go ahead and do that now. And I think we'll also be able to maybe put this on the chat or something like that, where you can get the website or the link that so you can take you directly there. I appreciate you guys listening, and definitely I hope I really